Davis, who is the Chief Business Officer for RealMe, and his presentation is on dating safety, cost or revenue, afterthought or by design, and how the Garbo experiment actually proved the model. So this is going to be a very interesting presentation, I think. Take it away, Seth. Thank you.
Great. Nice to see everyone this morning. Feel that you are back in the land of the living. Presentation morning really talks about dating safety and the tools that a lot of folks use or could be using to enhance the safety for your users. And we've been at this for a couple of years now, and we have learned a couple of things. While everyone does a great job in talking about the importance of dating safety for their users, about providing tool sets, whether they be chat moderation or video moderation or IDV or background checks or IRL safety tools. At the end of the day, when people look at the whiteboard of everything they have to do, unusual to find a platform that has created safety design. Basically, a lot of folks over the last couple of years, and certainly there's been this interesting evolution where COVID, one was focused on video experiences. Obviously, there's no IRL. And so everything got pushed back to the side, and people either built their own video dating platforms or used an off-the-shelf solution. Was the required to stay alive. Guys, those of you who have been around the web for a while, when mobile started becoming the platform of choice rather than desktop, the movement was basically mobile or social by design. So now the question is there a safety by design requirement now in our space? And then a lot of people look at online dating safety as basically just a cost, right? And so no one looks at it as a revenue generator, and not in terms of necessarily selling safety services. You could argue that you shouldn't have to, quote unquote, pay safe on fill in the blank platform. But if users feel more safe, will A, more of them convert from free to paid? B, will lifetime value increase because churn will decrease? And will they buy other boosts, add-ons, and things like that because of their greater engagement on service? And so maybe people should start looking at it as a revenue opportunity rather than a cost opportunity. And then, there's been a lot of noise lately. Some maybe we created, some that was created and we kind of just jumped in on the issue and the situation with Garbo and the match group. And while it certainly didn't work out well for either party, even if you take a look at what users did, that it actually proved the model. So while the execution was unfortunate for both sides, the model was completely proven out. So let's take a look at this. Basically, RealMe is a help dating platforms attract, retain, and monetize users by improving trust and safety through user verification and reputation. So again, it's kind of the elevator pitch, and everyone knows what the story is here, right? We know that the concept of what Match reported in terms of users taking a break from online dating because they didn't feel safe. Conference a couple of years ago, Google presented, and they said that a vast majority of users, potential users, did not join dating platforms because they didn't feel safe. You can see here the Google survey that almost half the women who have reported using a dating platform. Again, all this stuff you guys know. So I'm not going to go through the numbers. Maybe the new thing to talk about is this, and I'm ripping Mark off yesterday from what he posted. Basically, everyone is familiar with Spark networks, and Spark was obviously, a publicly traded platform, and between all of their platforms, including JDate and everything else, was a huge dating platform that at one point in time was worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. You can see here they got just purchased yesterday for south of 200,000 euro. And when they look, and the previous now owners were explaining what happened, they basically blamed a lot of the decline in Spark valuation and users and monetization based on not only cyber attacks, but fraudulent profile registrations. So a lot of numbers about, what percentage of Tinder registrations are created and integrate are fraudulent, and bot activity and things like that. But this is a concrete example on how lack of safety, and safety equals real profiles and real users, impacts everybody here. So you take a look at it, and again, all of the numbers here you guys are really familiar with, right? 80% of the people lie about who they are. Almost 3/4 enhance their profile. But the interesting thing is that the 80% of users actually are leaving platform and looking up background information, mostly on Google, maybe some on TikTok and other places, and they want to try to find information about people before they engage, right? People are catfished, people stalk people. Unfortunately, 10% of registered sex offenders are on at least one dating site. And so the problem, I don't think I need to continue to harp on the problem, because we kind of know what's there. And so what we do basically is we provide opportunities for platforms to establish that their users are real people, that basically they are who they say they are, that they're age verified, flag bad actors to the platforms, and then we basically help platforms comply with emerging regulations. It was a big move 2 years ago in the United States, and Utah and New York and Pennsylvania, and everyone jumping into online dating safety. It kind of calmed down a little bit. Utah just recently passed significant legislation around online dating safety. And so we help platforms that way, but we also help consumers. We help consumers understand that they are interacting with real people, not bots. We provide them some level of detailed background information of people who they're interacting with, so they're not interacting with bad actors. And then we have both the ability to have online and offline safety tools. And so if you take a look at specifically what we do for platforms, look here. So we allow platforms to verify their user base. We can tell them who are real users. We can verify their age. We have the ability to check against a number of both public and private databases to find out if people a violent history or certainly appear on sex offender lists. All we need is phone number. So we can do IDV verification in 120 countries with only phone number. So what we've done over the past 2 years is we've actually created relationships with most of the major phone carriers around the world. And with phone, what we get back is the person, first name and last name, actually, who owns that phone number, their physical address, their mailing address if they're different, and the email address that they registered when they use the phone. What we can't find is people who are obviously lying about their phone. Can't find burner phones. And VoIP is challenging, not impossible, but challenging. And so we even understand, and we can go one step lower for people who are on family plans, where all of the numbers are registered to one owner. And so we even can understand that. We should verified users. So once a user on a platform is verified, they get a bug, they get a badge on their platform. So that will show other people before they engage that, hey, this person is who they say they are, and likely they are not a bad person, right? Just because you haven't been convicted of a sex crime or a violent crime doesn't necessarily mean you're a good person, but it should give a user greater confidence that they are. And it allows user to access certain amounts of background information. So I can learn more about other people. And what that does is if I feel safer, I tend not to churn as much. I tend to engage more, and it increases revenue and retention. So if you continue down the road of exactly what we do, you get to a point in time where all we do is we take a list of user attributes, basically pretty easy integration. In fact, the integration of our API takes single-digit dev hours. Basically, we get a list of confidence scores from all of our databases, and we use literally hundreds of different databases. Does the user data map to a real identity? Does that person have a sexual offense? Does that person have a violent offense? And does that person have any other material offenses? And so the platform can reveal as much or as little information, or even no information of what they want to do. But with that bug, and users have to know that Neil Davis is who he says he is, not a real person, not a bot, not 99 years old or 16 years old, and basically has a tendency to be more safe than others. You can't, hey, listen, there is not a magic tool here to ensure that all of your users are safe. On the other hand, verification, background checks are two of the weapons that people should have in their safety toolbox that enables users to feel safe. So then you get to a situation where, how does this look? And it's pretty simple. You plug the verification into the app of the website. We do phone. This year, we'll have video and facial verification with the same company the vendor has used for facial verification. And you can see here, you get this bug. And then me as a user hit the bug, and it can open up still in the dating platform information that I have not been convicted of any number of different offenses. And if the platform and the user wants to do it, they can dig deeper. You can see here how this looks in terms of viewing background and reputation within the dating site. We expose no PII. In fact, we will not send back dating platform owners any PII, and you can expose only what you want. So basically, the benefit is the users can make a more informed decision, and it creates a more trusted and safe environment. So this is one of those tough ones. So what happened, and the Garbo match relationship match did a non, it was not an immaterial sum into Garbo. Garbo started, and then on one of their platforms expanded to their other platform. So it was kind of the best of times and the worst of times. What it did prove was consumers wanted the offering, as Garbo had millions of background requests across all the platforms. And in fact, if you, on one of the Garbo presentations at one of Mark's earlier conferences, I believe, they had identified over 10,000 bad actors for users before they ever engaged. So they did an incredible job. Users wanted to the tune of millions of requests, and they identified bad people. The problem was the product execution. And there were four huge issues here. And the question really is, and there was not one that caused basically everything to collapse. It was a multitude. It was the addition. It was a recipe of all these issues. Number one, and maybe the most important, users had to leave the platform. So if I was on Tinder, I literally had to leave Tinder, go to Garbo to get all of the background information. And ultimately, I could come back if and when I found the information about the user. What ended up happening, and again, this is all from Match, and certainly from one of Mark's last meetings, a lot of people didn't return. As everybody knows, if you send people off for any number of different reasons, there is a subset of those people that will come back. So they wanted people to stay on the platform, weren't able to. Number two, and maybe more important, the user had to know personal information about the other person to get the result. So I had to know your first name, maybe your last name, your phone number before I could get the background information. And certainly most of that information is not on your profile. So it was a flawed experience because the information needed to gather the feeling of safety, trust, and security for the user was not provided by the platform. And certainly the user wasn't providing it in most cases, because if I have something to hide, the last thing I'm going to do is give you the information. The cost was prohibitive. No surprise that 90+% of dating users don't pay anything to their platform. Yet on Garbo, 20 searches per month would have cost you over $50. And so, will people pay to be safe? The answer is yes. But if I'm paying nothing to the platform, I'm likely not going to pay $50 a month or more for background checks. And they didn't offer IDV. There was no profile verification badge. So I had no idea if you were a real person on Tinder, on any of the platforms, HUD, and Foreplay Social, on any of them. I didn't have any. There was no badging because that wasn't in the product vision. So it really didn't solve the problem of fake or misrepresented profiles. So basically, and respect what they did, and now in retrospect, they proved the model. Millions of people used it. Wasn't a great experience, but the fact that there was demand. So we know that the ability to verify identity, liveness, and background is not only an imperative for dating platforms, but is a massive request from users. It's the issue of bots. It's the issue of bad actors. It's the issue of, let's call it, bent reality. Everyone tries to make themselves look better profile, but there's a point in time where maybe looking better crosses over to truly false impressions. And we don't retain nor transmit any PAI. And for us, our flag in the ground is safety by design. It is the concept of it does create revenue directly and indirectly, that it should be part of a product tool set, not the only part of the product tool set, but one of the safety product tool sets. Importantly, it really is will generate revenue because of lower SAC, greater retention / lower churn, and potentially even increases the frequency of users to pay versus stay free. So again, thanks a lot. We are absolutely here and would love to talk to all of you. Mark's got all of our information, and we appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much, Neil. That was a wonderful presentation. That's a lot of what we need. I do have a couple more questions for you. is what kind of cost does RealMe recommend charging for these kinds of checks? What kind of range do you think the market will bear?
Well, the RealMe service versus the other services, the other services that have existed are basically a per pull, per background check fee. We're a monthly subscription, and it is a very, very low monthly subscription. So can platforms then charge more than that? Sure, but for us, the service has to be, if it's only used by single digit percentages of users, it's not impactful. You want the price low enough so that there's a critical mass of people that are verified, that are verifying themselves and use the service and engaging. So the service to integrate into the platform costs the platform nothing. Obviously, there's dev time and there's stuff that devs could be doing other than doing this. But we don't charge for the service. So our suggestion would be our monthly subscription rate is relatively low comparatively. And since 90% plus of the people are not paying, we would suggest that you actually charge as little as possible and keep with our monthly subscription.
Gotcha. Point of integration. What kind of integration resources are needed on the side of the dating app?
Right now, everyone who's integrated us is basically you one dev and then the input of a UX UI person. So it is low touch, 7 to 10 hours of dev work totally.
Great. Pointed out, I saw some screen caps there. Do you 100% clarify? So the entire experience is within the dating partner app?
Correct.
Great. Neil, that was fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. Also, thank you for being a sponsor of the
Thanks, everybody.
PR and these conferences ongoing.